Before working with Laurie-Ann, I was completely overwhelmed. I knew I wanted to start speaking, but every time I sat down, it was the pitching and the idea generation and where to speak and who to talk to and what to say. And it was too much. So one day I realized I really just needed to get clarity and start with what I wanted to speak about and who I wanted to speak to. And I knew that that would really narrow down the process of pitching and putting myself out there. I hired Laurie-Ann for a consult and wow. I have three overarching angles now that I can pitch to different groups depending on their needs and my goals. So it saved me a whole bunch of time and mental anguish. And I don't worry about coming up with hundreds of different ideas for hundreds of different organizations. It's just the three main ideas, super clear, super simple. And the best part is I felt like a total rock star who absolutely should be on stages. So if you're thinking about hiring Laurie-Ann, whether for a consult or some ongoing coaching and mentoring, what are you even waiting for? Why are you still listening to this? Just go book a call. Just do it. You'll thank me.
Happy Thursday. This is Laurie-Ann, and you are listening to Be in Demand. This is the podcast where I help entrepreneurs just like you leverage speaking opportunities as your best form of marketing, get positioned as the expert, and also monetize your message. I'm a reformed, painfully shy girl who accidentally became a professional speaker and an award-winning speaker. Today is a special speaker breakthrough session. Erin, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, this is going to be so much fun. I think what I like best about these calls is I just don't know where it's going to go. So would you tell everybody, me mostly, what you do and how you help people?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a launch strategist and conversion copywriter, and I mostly work with coaches and course creators who are scaling beyond the multi-six-figure marks with big seven-figure goals. However, while we love making money around my world, we also really love having time freedom more. So this is why I like working with the scaling coaches, because it's all about moving away from these one-on-one programs and filling group courses, their memberships, things that they actually are able to then reduce their time in their business and have more freedom.
Okay. What sort of programs and offers do you have that people can work with you?
So right now I just do done-for-you copywriting. So I do all sorts of like evergreen funnels, launch copywriting, and I do some websites as well, even though that doesn't really come under launch copywriting.
Right. Okay. So have you done any speaking before? Besides your podcast, that is.
Yeah, so I've dabbled in a couple of podcasts. However, my goal for this year was to get on 20 podcasts. So that's really just, I wanted to change my marketing strategy and get more visibility. So I'm really excited to be here for that reason.
Okay, so you only have 19 more to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Done one. Okay, so I believe that speaking needs to be redefined. Well, actually, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, which is not unusual. What would you like to get out of this coaching session? What is your goal?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really just the beginning stages for me, because I send out a few pitches and I don't really know how to share my expertise with the person I'm pitching and what sort of topics I should be pitching them. So I guess just at the beginning.
Okay. Oh, I love this conversation. Back to what I said earlier, and speaking needs to be redefined. There are so many different forms of speaking. It's so much more than just the stage and the handheld microphone and Zoom. If you having a podcast, that's your own stage. This podcast is my own stage. If you're doing any sort of live streaming, it's their stage, but that counts as a stage. Anywhere that you can be sharing your message. So, where have you spoken? You said I've dabbled.
Just in a few podcasts.
Just on a few podcasts. Okay.
Yeah.
I know you want to get on more podcasts. One way to get on more podcasts is to reach out to those hosts and let them know this is what happened when I was on your podcast. Maybe your email list grew by like 10% or something. You could ask them how it was because you're promoting it. You'll appreciate this as a podcast host also, to keep promoting their episode so that you keep driving traffic there. People are also listening to you as an expert. And then you should be asking that podcast host, who else do you know that would benefit from hearing what I shared on your podcast?
I love that.
So it's so simple. Now you have a reason and an excuse to reach back out to them and just have a lovely conversation. So when it comes to pitching yourself to speak, I have a unique philosophy about this. I believe that we should be opening the door to the conversation and not the, oh, hey, you should hire me. I'm going to be great in front of your audience. I put myself in the meeting planner's shoes, and I can only imagine the number of pitches that they get, especially if there is a call for speakers. You don't know much about the audience. You don't know much about the conference or the meeting that they're actually planning for. So for you to have a conversation with them, and let's talk about this meeting that they need a speaker for. Because it's in that conversation that you may realize, one, I'm not a good fit for this particular organization. Or maybe you are a good fit for this organization, but not this particular meeting. Maybe a future meeting. Because a lot of times, if you've ever noticed, when you're going to any conferences, there's usually a theme. They've got this overall arching theme. And so they want to make sure that the right speakers fit that theme. For example, I had a client of mine, and she was a storytelling expert for business owners. And she pitched herself for the marketing cruise. She heard crickets. She couldn't get anybody to respond to her. Crickets for 2 years. On that third year, she actually got a reply that said, we'd like to hire you. Because they already saw evidence of her speaking, and her being a storyteller fit in with the theme that the marketing cruise was looking for that year. So you just never know. So that's why I believe in let's open the door to a conversation. You have a podcast. So I would be using your podcast to talk about your speaking. Do you ever talk about your speaking?
No.
That's okay, because most people don't. Because I'm a speaker, this is just something that I would naturally do. Sometime last fall, there's a behind the scenes of me working with an insurance company. And I literally take you step by step. And so this is a couple of reasons. One, because of people who are interested in hiring me. Now they're hearing my process, what it's like to work with me. And then other entrepreneurs who are leveraging speaking opportunities, I just want them to hear it's so much more than, oh, let me just show up and speak. There's other ways that you can really create a beautiful experience for the audience and also the meeting planners, whoever the person is that's hiring you, create that experience for them.
Oh, I love that. So when you're saying to talk about it in my podcast, is this like other speaking opportunities that I've had, do an episode on that?
Yeah. Or actually I shouldn't say or, and I'm sure that you have a couple of speaking topics that you already speak on, right? Great.
Yes.
You need to have a podcast episode on each of those.
That's actually been top of my to-do list.
Oh, wonderful. So I'm glad that we're having this conversation so that I'm confirming that you need to do this. You could have a podcast episode that talks about 3 different topics that I can share in their community, with their meeting, at their conference. These speeches are perfect for, and who's in the audience? The problem that this particular speech solves is XYZ. And then you could do individual episodes on those particular speeches and presentations.
Okay, great.
And then every once in a while, like when you've given one, when you've spoken in somebody's private community, when you've spoken at a local business event or a meeting, talk about it on your podcast. This is what happened. This is how I customized my presentation. So now it's like all I'm hearing is, she's the speaker. She's the speaker. Oh, she's got another speech. Oh, we're gonna have to have her come back for that one.
Yeah. And building that authority and credibility.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes. So use your own stage to start talking about your speaking abilities so that people will see you as a speaker. Which brings me to my next question, which is there a speaker in your bio?
Absolutely not.
That's okay. Whenever I ask that question, that is the most common answer. Like 95% of people who answer that question say, no, I want you to claim it.
Okay.
I want you to let the world know that you're a speaker.
Yeah.
Let they know that they can hire you.
That sounds really easy and a great forward step.
Yeah, a lot of this getting started is easy. But when you're on the other side of the curtain, you just don't know how to get behind the curtain. It can seem like it's very daunting, like you're waiting to win the lottery. When is somebody going to ask me? But typically, they're not going to ask you if they don't even know that you're a speaker.
Yeah. Okay. I'm like, my wheels are churning.
Okay, what are your wheels turning about right now?
Just how that changes just the authority, just that one simple word and where I can place it, my website, my Instagram bio. Yeah.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Mm-hmm.
Everywhere. And when you are on other people's podcasts, make that part of your introduction. You know, Erin Morris is a copywriter, podcaster, speaker.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of like imposter syndrome around that as well, because even when you ask me where I've spoken before, like, I'm a regular guest expert in coaching programs and things, and I didn't even think to say that.
Wow, isn't that interesting? Okay. I think you need a pre-speaking routine.
Okay.
Kind of like you probably brush your teeth every morning. It's just something that you do before the start of the day. Pre-speaking routine is something that you do before you speak. I even do this before I record a podcast episode. It gets me in the right energy so that I show up in that energy in my full power. Because one of the things I learned I took some modeling and commercial classes. And the reason why I took the classes was because speaking is a performance. And the one thing that I remember the gentleman teaching us about commercials was you have to express the emotion 150% just so that the audience will probably feel it at 50%. So hence the pre-speaking routine to get my energy going. So I think music is extremely powerful. Music and movement.
Yeah.
So I literally will find a quiet conference hall. I've got my earbuds in. There's a couple of certain songs that I listen to. And I kick off my shoes and I just pace back and forth while I listen to this music.
Okay.
How does something like that sound?
Yeah, it sounds really good. It just sounds like I'm going to enter the atmosphere completely different, right? It changes the entire environment.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine how you would show up. That imposter syndrome version of you, you'd be like, just leave her in the car. It's like, put your music on and just, sorry, you'll have to wait for me later. Make a game of it. Because the more that you do it, the easier it's going to be for you to step into that identity of being the speaker, being that powerful Erin who's going to help this audience understand how words can literally move people.
All right. Well, that sounds great.
I actually think that speaking is verbal copy.
Absolutely. A couple of things you've been saying, I'm thinking, yes, I would say exactly that to somebody in a different context.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What other questions do you have? We still have time.
Yeah, so I think my biggest question is, I know you mentioned that I've got a few topics, and I do, but I guess I think maybe there's a bit of imposter syndrome here as well, but I bounce between ideas and I wonder, is this what I should be pitching someone, or should I pitch this? And I change these regular topics out all the time. So I don't know if there's an easy way to just kind of decide on my core topics that I'm an expert in and how to come up with those.
To tell you, we're going to have three, and you're the conversion copywriter. So I want you to come up with 3 sexy titles, 3 provocative titles that when somebody reads them, they're just like, I have got to hear that talk. one of the things that I think that we should do is like we do the Stephen Covey thing. We need to reverse engineer. So I know that you do a couple of things like launch strategy and also conversion copywriter. The conversion copywriter I'm so drawn to. I really think that you could teach people about words, how doing these little tweaks and a before and after. Like here's a before sales page, and then here's what I did to it, showing people. Now, you're not teaching people how to do it, but you're just showing them like, here's a before and an after. This is the value that a copywriter would bring to your business. Okay. So we reverse engineer things. We want them to sign on with you. Then we want them to hire you. So you could literally show people before and afters. That's like your dramatic demonstration.
So this is within my pitch.
No, this
Or
is
this
with
is the topic.
Okay. This is
Okay,
yeah.
yes,
This is bringing,
sorry.
yeah. So you could literally have one on conversion copy. The power of words. You're going to come up with some very provocative title. That's just going to be like, wow, I need to hear that talk.
No, I'm happy to do the
Yeah.
topics. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that would be one. What else do you love to teach people?
So two of my core focuses is sales psychology and then adding in personality so much, but it still sounds like you.
Oh my God, sales psychology, seriously?
Yeah, I love it.
Oh my
I'm a nerd
God,
for that.
so do I. I just, that's buyer behavior too. And I think that's huge and that is so evergreen. It doesn't matter how much technology changes, our brains are our brains. And like the more research that we do in understanding how humans react to things, there's at least 2 talks. But I would definitely do one on sales psychology because you already said you love talking about that. So the conversion copy, sales psychology, because now the sales psychology, you literally can be giving this talk to just about any group because to understand the psychology of what's going on and why you have to build that know, like, and trust. And now you're literally explaining that's why this comes first on the sales page. And then we do this, and then we do this, and then. It like almost like ties it all together for people. It's like, oh my God, I don't know how to do this. Then you offer a PDF. So now people are on your email list or booking calls with you.
Yes, that actually ties in with one of my freebies anyway. I have a psychology-driven sales page outline.
Love it. Okay, so that's definitely going to be one, if not 2, maybe there's 2 different beautiful titles that you can come up with it. Basically, you're teaching the same thing, sales psychology.
I think as well in my world, sales psychology gets a bad rap. People think it's unethical. However, it really is just how our brains work. So that could definitely tie into one of the topics as well, because people don't want to be unethical in their marketing.
Right. It could be, ethical.
Or sound salesy.
Just understanding your buyer. What if you had a title that talked about understanding your buyer?
I'm thinking as well, understanding your buyer to not sound salesy, because I want to say that 99% of my clients come to me and they say, I don't want to sound salesy.
Okay.
So
understand your buyer without sounding salesy.
Or if even sound, I just had a title and I've lost it. It was don't sound salesy by understanding your buyer.
Ooh.
Like rephrasing it that way.
Don't sound salesy by
that needs some work.
It does. It needs a little massaging, but we're almost there. Okay. So I want you to start reaching out to, well, actually, here's what I want you to do. This is what I tell a lot of people who are just getting started in speaking. Mm-hmm. Make a list of all the groups, associations, trade groups, anything that you're a member of, and put a little check mark. Do they have speakers? Now, that includes any Facebook groups. If you notice that, check, they bring in speakers. You're already a member there. Do they bring speakers in? Check. So reach out to those people first. It's a simple conversation of, you enjoy being a member, you've been a member for X amount of years. I notice that we have speakers for each of our meetings. What's the process for finding speakers? So we're just opening the door. We're not saying, I want to be the speaker. They'll tell you, oh, that's such and such's job. They're responsible for finding the speakers, or it's by volunteer, it's application. By having those conversations with people, we learn so much about their process. When you're having that conversation, you can then say, well, I'm interested in speaking. And then you could share with them this sales psychology that's going to be so damn interesting to them. So that's how you can hear a yes. When can we book you? It's really, it's just having a conversation. So guess what you're doing? You're understanding your buyer and you're not being salesy.
Yeah.
You're literally blocking your talk.
It's a nice and easy entry point.
Yeah. And then once you speak, to be able to, you want to make sure that you're outstanding on the stage, the virtual or in-person stage. And then afterwards, if you're outstanding, like, they will be so happy to write you a testimonial when you ask and also refer you to other people. Speaking can snowball very quickly. And before you know it, you're going to have a huge wait list of people waiting to work with you.
That sounds great. Absolutely great. Yeah. No, this has definitely had my wheels churning. So lots of ideas.
And wonderful.
I think also just reaching out to people, that initial conversation, I thought I had to pitch. So I really like how you just made it so much less pressure. And it really does open that conversation for someone to respond back to you as opposed to just ghosting you. I like that.
Good. See, it sounds like it's more in alignment with you.
Absolutely.
So, Erin, what is one or two gold nuggets that you're walking away with today?
I think number one for me is just the clarity on my topics. That was something I've been going back and forth between a lot. So yeah, number one, definitely that. Oh, obviously number two, what we just spoke about. So how to broach that conversation of what their process is as opposed to, I would like to be a speaker. And I know there were so many at the beginning as well, but now I'm going to have to listen to this back 2 or 3 times.
All right. Number 3 is you're going to use your podcast.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Number 3 for me, the big one was that I would put speaker in my bio.
Speaker in your bio. Okay. Yeah. And use your podcast.
And use your podcast. Yeah. Like more than 3 easily.
That's awesome. That just makes me so happy that you have a starting off point.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
And would you tell everybody where they can find you, where they can follow you and learn from you, and especially listen to your podcast?
Yes, absolutely. So I am mostly active in an email list. So my website is erinmorris.co. And if you click over to the resources tab, I've got a couple of freebies over there. So like we spoke about, the sales psychology driven sales page. And then there's also one about getting to know your buyer better and performing voice of customer market research. So once you sign up for any of those, you'll be on my email list, and I email every week. And then my podcast is Copy to Freedom.
Fantastic. So everybody go listen to her podcast and keep her accountable to talking about her speeches and her speaking events.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much, Erin.
Yeah, thank you, Laurie-Ann.
Are you tired of hearing crickets on social media? Wondering where to get seen by the right people? Or frustrated with the growth of your business? Then the Speaker Breakthrough Session is just for you. During this free 20-minute discovery call, I'll help you recognize where you're leaving money and opportunity on the table. You'll walk away with tips and a strategy to leverage speaking opportunities to get positioned as the expert, visible to the right people, and monetize your expertise. Book your call at speakandstandout.com/SBS for Speaker Breakthrough Session.